Welcome, podcast community. We are Saturday the weekend, and we have another show with Ellison Bear, who has her Etsy store. At the young age of 10, she has been a business owner. Now, can you imagine our community? What were you doing at 10 years old? I guarantee most of you weren't in your own business. So the idea that Ellison has started an Etsy store, is out there creating, developing, is so good. So we've invited her back and we want to talk a little bit about her week. What is it? What does she do to prepare for a week? So Ellison, tell our viewers like who you are and what you do, as far as your own business, so our viewers can get an idea of who you are.
Well, my name is Ellison, also known as Ellie, from Ellie's Claire, and every week there's always one goal. It's to get my restock done.
Mm-hmm.
So I usually sculpt around 25 items.
Mm-hmm.
That's usually what I just now started, which has been a little more difficult because last podcast I was actually just doing it made to order. So there'd basically be unlimited items and I just make one of each, but now I've decided that I'm going to make multiple of each, which has definitely it takes me a little bit longer, but it's definitely helping me because I just want to make sure that everything looks the same and one customer isn't getting something smaller or looking a little bit different than the other.
That's awesome to hear. So we were on vacation last week. So, when you're on vacation, you're not doing work. Did you find yourself thinking about the upcoming week, or give our viewers an idea of what you have to think about to be a business owner?
Honestly, I told everyone on Instagram I wouldn't be posting, I wouldn't have a restock, but I was actually thinking that I wouldn't be able to get my restock done because usually I have a full week. But obviously we were on vacation. I only have 5 days to do it because I was driving 2 of them. So I was actually a little nervous I wouldn't be able to get it done. I really wanted to get home and make sure that I could get everything prepared. But it ended up working out and I got everything done, which was great. That's definitely a plus for me because half the times I actually have to delay my restocks because usually I not forget, but like I've never have the time to get it done. But I barely finished on time, so that was pretty much a miracle that I got it done in time with only a matter of like 4 or 5 days.
Wow. Tell, our viewers, I love that. Our viewers are thinking like, when you're getting in your business, will I be able to do it? How much work is it? All these things, because other kids who don't have a store like you do are not having to think, I got to restock. I got to do this. I got to make sure the shipping goes out. And I've got to make sure, I'm posting on Instagram so people can see the process. Explain to our viewers that are familiar with Instagram and the store, what is the restocking process so they can get a better understanding of it?
First I want to go ahead and tell you, don't ever think that you have to restock every week. That's just me. You can do every 2 weeks. Some people even do a whole month. Like so you have to figure out the date, get everything done, and then take your time and then just think about when you're going to do that date. Don't think of this is the day that I'm going to do it. No, don't think of that. Let's just play it by ear and see how long it takes you. And then also, so my process of how everything goes.
Yeah, just kind of because, when you're in your own business, there's a lot of work that has to go in. So our viewers that aren't familiar with, the term restocking and what you have to do to keep that store fresh and good and up to date. So what do you do? Like, take me from the beginning when you think about your week to getting it all restocked?
Basically, the first thing that I have to think of the ideas. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I can't just start working with clay and just do it. That's not really how it works. You have to write it all down. And so I like to plan 2 restocks around 3 weeks ahead of time.
Yeah.
So I'm not rushing to get a restock done. But that's the first step. Write down everything. Then I usually like draw a picture of what I want it to look like and envision like what it's supposed to look like. So then I start sculpting with clay. Obviously, I make like a couple of each. And then after I have to like take rubbing alcohol and get all the dust off. One thing that I recommend doing is a lot of people have trouble leaving dust on their art, which is not a good thing because then you have all these pieces of dust and you're probably not going to get many like you're not going to get any sales because there's so much dust. That's something that you definitely need to look at, and that's usually what I do, make sure there's no dust, no marks or anything. And even if I see one little mark, I totally restart it if it's like really bad. Then after that, I usually have to bake it, which is definitely the most nerve-wracking sort of part. Like, I always get very nervous because if you don't make the clay soft enough, it'll crack, and then you have to restart the whole thing. So that's always something that I have to keep an eye on. And then after that, I have to glaze, my all-time least favorite part, because you have to make it smooth, and it's very hard to do that. You're always going to have like a little bump on there that you got to smooth out. And then after that, I usually hook the keychains for those that have it. And then it's ready to ship out whenever somebody buys it. So that's usually what my week is like when I have to do with clay and stuff.
That is awesome to hear. Now, when you do an earring, like, tell our viewers like the process of, baking the clay and then painting. You're putting the finishing touches on. How do you get that? What are you doing to get that earring in the art?
So I stick, before it's in the oven, I stick in a little hook thing, that little hook at the top. Then I let it bake. And then I use a pair of pliers and open up these little circle things. I can't name it right now. I don't know. And I basically just hook a couple of them on, take the little chain that goes on it, and then I take the little earring hook and then slide it in that little circle that I opened up, and then close it back together. So it's a pretty easy process when you do it for a little while. But when I started, it would take me like 20 minutes to do like 5 of them. So the more time that you put into it, the easier it'll be.
That is so good to hear. I mean, when you bake them, are you like taking a bunch at a time to put that in place, or how are you? Let's say you did 25, like you said. Like, do you bake all 25, or how do you do that process?
Yes, I just put all of them on there.
Yeah,
that's usually what I do. If I do it separate, it actually just takes double the time because you have to do that. Like, I have a big enough pan for all of it to fit. But it would take double the time if I did it separate. Like, I got this done, let's go put it in the oven, let's start a new thing. Like, that would take so long. So I just let it sit there until everything is done, and then I put it in the oven.
Okay, it comes out of the oven. What's your next step?
It's basically letting it cool off and glazing it, as I said, which is just glazing and putting this gloss stuff with a paintbrush. I had a lot of issues with that, as I said in the beginning, with UV resin. When I was putting on, it would just drip all off, and it was a big disaster. So now I use gloss varnish. It's a clay varnish, whatever. It's worked very well for me. But it's a pretty long process once you combine the sculpting, the writing, the baking, the glazing, applying all of the keychains, the finishing touches. It takes, each one would probably take around an hour and a half. with everything, and I did 25. That's it takes me basically 20 some hours to get everything done.
Wow. That's a lot of planning. And so when you do that, then what's the process like of putting those items up on Instagram in your store or in the Etsy store, then it's on Instagram? Tell our viewers what that process looks like.
Basically on Instagram, I basically line everything up. One thing that I would definitely recommend,
Mm-hmm.
obviously you should know this anyways, to make your pictures look good. Like
Mm-hmm.
if you can't really see the item when it's dark, which I had a lot of problems with that when I started.
Yeah.
All of my pictures were very dark, but
Uh-huh.
I started using editing apps where I can lighten it up. I put my lamps in my room all right there so I can make sure that it's nice and bright, so
Mm-hmm.
people can see the item. But anyway, back to Instagram, I do a restock video, tell everybody what the item is and just all the details on it and stuff, and just stuff like that. Post pictures and say they're up on Etsy, and then the Etsy process. It's so much it takes me like 20 minutes to do each item. Like you gotta write the weight and the title, the description, what I put at least like 3 pictures on there, and it's a very long process. But if you've done it, if you keep doing it,
Yeah.
it's very simple. Like it's the same thing over and over. As long as it's simple, but it just takes a while. But that shouldn't stop you from doing your own business, because I definitely, after, as I was saying, after you keep doing it, you get used to it.
So with the restocking process, what can you tell our viewers is the hardest thing of that whole process?
The hardest thing, probably if they don't sell. That's just something that I've been working on. So if you guys have not been selling your products, don't expect them to sell right away. That's not how it works. It's not like somebody's going to see you and they're going to be like, oh, I'm just going to buy it. No, you got to give it time. Like, I just have learned, even if I'm not getting orders yet,
Yep.
all those other clay artists, that's how they started. They didn't get any orders or anything.
Yep.
But as you keep listing your items and stuff, people will finally see them and you'll finally get more orders. It just takes time. So don't let that stop you if you're not getting orders, because you're not supposed to get orders right when you start. Like, I mean, you should, but like, it's not guaranteed. So if you're not getting orders, don't let that stop you.
Yeah.
Because you got to keep trying. You got to just keep it on there and keep posting them, and finally you're going to get your orders, because you let that sit there. And if you just quit your whole business, you're never going to get any orders, because you just quit your whole business because you didn't get any sales the first day. Like, you're not going to get that. So that's something you need to keep in mind. That's
a great lesson to share with our viewers, because what I'm hearing from your testimony and your journey is, that when you start something, you have to figure out things. You have to give it some time to learn, and every day and every week you're getting better. What would you like? So what obstacles can you tell our viewers with that whole process? Are you seeing some new ways in the last week that you can, be better at that, or is it too early to tell?
Ways that it's sort of a little early to like find like new things and stuff that have helped me, but definitely I've learned to definitely ask my viewers what they want. Like, I've actually had a couple people like reach out to me and ask if I can mix sculpt this or do that. And definitely Instagram has helped me. Like, I do polls asking questions. Like, I didn't used to do that. Now I do that so
That's
that
a great idea.
so I can see what the people want and not what I'm creating.
Yes.
That's what I got to think about what other people want in what they will buy and not what I love and what other people are not going to buy. I always try and think about what everybody else is going to want.
That's a great lesson. Our viewers, I want you to take a note on that. By taking polls and asking people what they want, you're basically finding out what your customers are wanting, because they vote with their dollars. And if you have a good idea, but it's not what people want, then they're not going to buy it. But when you ask them and do polls and get that feedback, that's a valuable lesson. I'm glad you shared that with our viewers. Now, I know I can hear that we have a lot going on today, so we're going to have to let our viewers know how can they, one, if you want Ellison to be on your podcast, or you want to publish her information and get promoted, because we always look for promotional partners that can get more people aware of Ellison's store. So tell our viewers how can they get a hold of your store on Instagram, and not Instagram, on Etsy.
Well, it's actually I'm pretty sure that will be a link down below.
Okay, yes,
yeah,
we
we'll
will.
have that link down below if you guys want to check that out. And then if you just go on Etsy, you can just search Elise Claire and it should come up one of my items.
Okay.
You guys can go look at my last podcast and see my items on there if you know it's the right one. But yeah, that's how you can check me out.
Well, we're gonna when we do this next week, we're gonna have what you learned this week in your journey, because helping to inspire our young business owners like yourself, to help them to know what your journey is like, because you're inspiring these future people that are your age to be able to get out there and start their own business. Because you're right. I love how you shared it takes time. And you're right. It takes time. And nothing happens overnight. So, Ellison, what would you like as you have this journey in podcasting and you're promoting your store? Like, what would you like our owners to know from this podcast?
Like what do you want? What do you ask?
Yeah, like what lesson would you want our young entrepreneurs like yourself to take away from our time on this podcast? What could you share with them as we close down?
I'm honestly just gonna go ahead and just say, if you want to start your business, I'm not gonna force you to do it. But if you are talented at something, then you need to give that a shot at starting your business.
Mm-hmm.
Because my mom told me that I was good at making clay art, and she told me that I needed to start my business, but I said no. Like, I was like, I cannot do this. But she was the one to convince me. So I was always telling myself I could not do it. But you don't tell yourself that. Mm-hmm. Say, no, I can do this. Mm-hmm. Like, you just got to give it a shot. Don't start off on Etsy. Like, you don't have to do that. Just start off locally like I did. And I got basically just start off selling it to friends and family, mm-hmm. earn some money, and then start your Etsy shop. And just take it step by step. And it doesn't have to start off to be this big company. It just has just locally be like, hey, I'm selling clay art. Do you want to buy something? Like,
exactly. I love that. What a great lesson. Asking for the order. I want our viewers to take that home as starting. Start. You know, you're always going to have people who inspire you, like your mom encouraging you to start, sees it and says, and we always have that little doubt on one shoulder. Then we have the shoulder that says, I can do it. And we want to knock the fear, knock that off the shoulder and listen to the one that's going, go for it, go for it, go for it. I can do this. So Ellison, I appreciate you being a guest, and we're going to come back next week and we'll be able to give our viewers more tips on how to be successful by sharing your journey as at the age of 10 of really establishing that small business and getting out there and learning the strategies and the things that you have to learn to be successful in business. Thank you, Ellison, and we appreciate you being with us.